Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 417 of the All Dolphins podcast for this Tuesday, November 26th. Let me take off my glasses for a second. 2024 makes me look a little bit younger.
There you go.
Chris Perk is in the house to join me for this episode 2 days before the Dolphins take on the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving evening. How are you, Perk?
I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to this game. This is what the season has been about, man. Of course, we said that before both Buffalo games, but this is really it.
Now we mean
that's right. This is really it.
No, and we have reached a portion. I wrote a column today on MiamiDolphinsOnSide.com. Please check out the written content on the website. It's free. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's complete gibberish, as I'm sure you'll be happy to tell me, fans, viewers, and all that. But please check it out. It helps put food on my table and all that good stuff. But I wrote about whether these are the same old Dolphins. And part of the same old Dolphins was they completely spank teams they should spank to the point of the games being boring if you're looking at it purely from an entertainment purpose. Like for the last two games, for example, I came in, I predicted the Dolphins by 21 over the Raiders. I predicted the Dolphins by 10 over the Patriots, which was utterly conservative. And they spanked both teams, and it never looked like they were in trouble against either team. And this was 2022, 2023 Dolphins at their peak efficiency. What was missing were those signature wins against the big teams. So is this the year where it happens, or are these going to be the same old Dolphins?
I hope that this is the year that it happens, but I have to see it first. I've got to see it to believe it. And so that's kind of where I am with this game. I like what the Dolphins are doing, and I wrote earlier this week, I think it was this week, that this is the best I've felt about the Mike McDaniel era Dolphins. And the reason that I say that is because you aren't just defending Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle now as a defense. You have to defend Tyreek and Jalen and Achane and Jonnu Smith and Raheem Mostert. And you have to defend a lot of guys at a lot of different depths. So it makes it a lot more difficult. And look, Tua, the way Tua is playing right now, I mean, he's just distributing that ball with all kinds of confidence. The offense is humming. Now, look, I understand that the run game has not been there the last 3 weeks during this winning streak. But as I told you before, you weren't going to win games with this run game. You need the run game to provide balance for the offense. But this is not a running team. You mostly got 100-yard performances as a team because you were running against light boxes, because teams kept those too high safeties. And so you took advantage, just like you've done here in the passing game. So I think that the recognition of that and taking advantage of that also speaks well for this Dolphins team. Mike McDaniel has remained patient. He hasn't extended the offense to force those deep throws. So this is a different Dolphins team. I hope they can beat Green Bay. I really do, because I really, really like what Mike McDaniel and this offense are doing.
Except... didn't you already make a prediction on sunsentinel.com or on the?
I did. No, I picked Packers 28-24. Again, I've got to see it. Look, this team does not win on the road. This team does not beat good teams. I don't believe the cold weather thing, but you've got to win on the road and you've got to beat a good team for me to buy in. And so that's where we are. Look, I still think this team can make the playoffs, even if they lose on Thursday, because once again, your path to the playoffs is beating the bad teams on your schedule. There's enough of those to get you to 9 wins. But I would like to see them beat Green Bay and put a dent in this major narrative and give yourself reason to believe you can win a road playoff game. Or more reason to believe, I should say. I'm sure the players believe it.
But it's not a narrative, it's a fact.
Okay. It is a fact.
I hate that term. It's not a narrative, it's a fact. I mean, they played 4 teams they played 4 games against teams with a winning record this season. They won 4.
Yep.
I mean, that's a fact.
Yep.
Okay, but we'll get back to that, the big picture talk, a little bit later. We got some big news to address.
We do.
The first one is like Shaq Barrett. I mean, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, there's the report. He is going to apply for a reinstatement from the NFL because he had filed the retirement papers. He is on the Dolphins reserve retired list. They own his rights. Now the question is, if you're the Miami Dolphins, do you want him? Do you need him? Are you holding a grudge that he bailed out on you for whatever reason in July? This is somebody who had a nasty family tragedy, lost a daughter a year ago. So we have to be sympathetic to that.
Right.
But doesn't change the fact that he bailed on a team 4 months after signing with them. And now 4 months later, like, you know what, I actually do want to play. Where do you stand?
Yes, the situation with the daughter complicates this because, you know, that's some emotional distress right there. And he did say that he was retiring so that he could spend more time with his family. And so you can't discount that. Cannot. If this was a Ricky Williams situation where you retire and you try to come back, as Hal Habib of the Palm Beach Post reminded us in the media room today, we were trying to think of players who had retired and come back. Ricky Williams, you idiot. It's right in front of your face. So I'm calling myself an idiot, by the way. If this was a Ricky situation, I would tell Shaq Barrett, absolutely no way. We're not taking you off the reserve list so that you can go to Kansas City or Baltimore or wherever and get a ring after you screwed us. We're going to screw you the way you screwed us. I wouldn't cut him loose, but the family is a different level of exception here, and you have to be mindful of that. So, you know, right now on a Tuesday before the Thursday game, I'm like Mike McDaniel. I haven't thought about it. You don't have time to really go in depth. That'll be for the weekend when you have Saturday and Sunday off. Right now, you take no activity. There's no action. And remember, if you bring Shaq Barrett back, who has not been through training camp or anything else, and put him on the roster, you got to cut somebody who has been with you and has been through training camp and is in football shape. So that's something else to consider.
Yeah, and to me, and I'm going to put back the old man glasses again.
There you go.
How much older I look with like the teeny weeny eyes.
It's distinguished. You look distinguished, Boo.
I could never look distinguished. No matter how hard I could try, I could never look distinguished. Anthony Weaver had an interesting comment, and I'm going to pull it up here, look it up really quickly. He would go, and then you tell me if you were struck as much by this. He says, I think with Shaq, it was his veteran presence, talking about what drew the Dolphins to him in the first place. He's obviously a guy that has a bunch of pelts on the wall, that has a Super Bowl ring. There isn't anything schematically that he hasn't seen, and he's been impactful throughout his time in the league. So that was obviously what we saw in him. And if he chooses to come back here or whatever that is, then God bless him. But right now, I'm focusing on the guys who have been here, who have been committed to us, and are currently in the fight. To me, that's saying a lot by saying few words. To me, that's saying a lot. And again, all the sympathy in the world, but this is a place where the Dolphins clearly could tell him, listen, no issue whatsoever with you dealing, wanting to spend time with your family. How about you spend more time with your family, And it's not, again, the other part of it is, and I hate to be cold about this, it's not like the Shaq Barrett of 2019, I think it was, where he had 19 and a half sacks. Had 4.5 sacks last year in 16 games, had 3 sacks in 8 games the year before. And as you mentioned, who do you cut? If they do a position for position, who do you cut?
Right.
Among your edge defenders? Quentin Bell's playing a ton of snaps on special teams. Certainly not Chop Robinson, obviously. Yep. Not Emmanuel Ogbah, who bailed you out after Barrett left. Not Mohamed Kamara, even though he's inactive every single game. So that leaves Tyus Bowser, who's a guy who's done. See, you're shaking your head. No. So, again, unless somebody gets hurt, to me, it's almost like, Shaq, bide your time. Somebody gets hurt. We need somebody. You're the first guy we call,
Yeah, he would be like on the Melvin Ingram, Bruce Irvin plan for me. Yes. And really, because this is a business, I'm not cutting him loose. For him to go to an AFC team that I'm going to see in the first round of the playoffs, absolutely no way. This is a business. I have sympathy for him, but I can't cut this guy loose and he goes to Kansas City, Pittsburgh, wherever, Baltimore, and beats me in a first-round playoff game. Not happening.
Okay, and I'm going to be honest here, and I have a call out into somebody to get clarification on this. If he applies for reinstatement from the NFL, and the NFL grants it, and so my question then becomes: the Dolphins have the right to keep him on the reserve retired list, or do they have to either activate him or release him?
No, that's a legit question. Something we talked about in the media room. I don't know why they would have to make a move with him. It's like if he's on injured reserve or PUP. I mean, you retired. You can't force us to bring you back. I mean, that's how I look at it.
But if you're
I don't know the rules.
Yeah, no, correct. And that's why I said, like I said, I have a feeler out to get that information. I haven't gotten a reply yet. I'm going to check real quick. No, I have not gotten a reply back because I want to confirm that. Like I said, I'm pleading ignorance on this. I'm not 100% sure what the rule is because I would think there would be something to the effect of like, while you can't force the Dolphins to put him on the 53, if the NFL reinstates him from the retired list, then do the Dolphins have the right to just basically freeze him? And I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
Okay, so but I don't think the bottom line on this is it's great that he wants to come back and play. And by the way, he had done an interview with Kay Adams on her podcast, and basically, without saying it, kind of suggested the only team for which he wanted to play was Tampa Bay, talking about how great they were with him and for him when he had the tragedy with his daughter. Now, apparently, Drew Rosenhaus has told our good friend Josh Moser from WSVN that he's willing to play for the Dolphins. But again, I don't know that it's a slam dunk that the Dolphins actually are going to be like, come on back, we need you. Yeah.
So. Yeah, and I don't see why the Dolphins would do that at this point. At this point.
Correct. I mean, especially the way they went 3 in a row, so things are going. Yep. You kind of don't want to necessarily change things when things are going well. The other roster move on Tuesday. Dolphins keep making roster moves. They waived veteran safety Marcus May early in the morning, and when that news broke or it was leaked, it was like, okay, well, it makes sense. Patrick McMorris, a decision on him has to be made, and lo and behold, shortly thereafter, it came to that. Yep. And then if you look at his game-by-game logs, exactly 0 defensive snaps the last 3 games after he played every snap for Javon Holland against Buffalo and had for a second consecutive week that Ole situation in the open field, that time on the 67-yard, I think it was, touchdown pass to Ray Davis. So can't say I'm overly shocked. I know there's some fans out there who are going to be like, no, Jordan Poyer should have been the one who had been cut. Dolphin coaches, I'm doing, for those listening on the audio podcast version of this, I'm doing my little hearts emojis that I do with my laptop because the Dolphin coaches love Jordan Poyer and what he brings in terms of intangibles.
Right, and then that's the word, the intangibles. I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up here.
I know you love Jordan Poyer too. I know it's cool.
I do. I really do. It's obvious. Because by performance, Poyer was not doing that well, but Mike McDaniel kept talking about his leadership and everything like that, because we were wondering, do they not trust Marcus May? Do they not trust Elijah Campbell? I don't think they did trust either of them from scrimmage. And Jordan Poyer, that leadership intangible, that's one thing that this team could really, really use is guys who have been there, right? Jalen Ramsey has been there. Tyreek has been there, but there's not many of them. And so, look, Poyer is a guy who was, not only has he been through the playoffs, he was on a team last year that was 6-6, right? That battled its way back, won its last 5 games, including here. So there is that piece of leadership also.
No, that's fair. And in addition to just the leadership, another point that I think was McDaniel that made is getting guys lined up in the right spot as the captain of the secondary. Yeah. So there's something to be said for that. So I know Dolphin fans are not crazy about him. And Marcus May, based on my eyeballs, actually is better in coverage than Jordan Poyer, but it's not strictly what it's all about in terms of playing the safety position. So, And Mike McDaniel had spoken very highly of Patrick McMorris at the time, and not surprising that they would bring him back, designate him for return. Now unless my calculations are wrong, that's 4 out of the 8 that they've used: River, Craycraft, Cam Smith, Patrick McMorris, and 2, of course. So that's 4 out of 8. They'll have to use another one if they ever decide to activate or designate to return Blake Ferguson.
Yep.
But now we're on to long snapper number 3. And if you recall Danny Crossman telling us, no, I don't want to have to go, practice squad, elevate, new guy, elevate, new guy. Well, that's what they're doing.
Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. And look, I don't see anything really wrong with the operation. Maybe there's technical things, but I haven't seen anything wrong with the operation the way they're going. We continue to see Blake Ferguson in the locker room, including today, but it doesn't seem like they plan on activating him. Definitely not this week, anytime soon, I guess you could say.
No, correct. And I get this question quite a bit from fans on Twitter or when I do mailbags. We're not allowed to speak to Blake Ferguson while he remains on a reserve list. And the Dolphins are not going to reveal that kind of personal information. Remember, he's on the reserve non-football illness list. So we don't know exactly what's going on with Blake Ferguson. What is public knowledge, he's got type 1 diabetes, which he's had since he was a teenager. That's public information that's out there. Whether this is related to that, I have no idea. So once he does get designated to return, if that happens and activated, we certainly will ask Blake if he's willing to share what happened. In the meantime, certainly not fair to speculate or guess as to what could be going on. Let's do the old injury report based on an estimation again, because it's a Thursday night game. So there's no practicing this week. It's going to be there was no practice Monday, walk through Tuesday, walk through Wednesday. And I have pulled it up. I guess the most interesting development here, there were a couple of changes on the Dolphins injury report. Tyreek Hill was not at the on hand on Tuesday. It was because of a personal issue. Mm-hmm. By the way, I guess we should mention, since everybody wrote about it, his traffic citation, 2 traffic tickets that he got related to the incident before the season opener against the Jacksonville Jaguars, dismissed. The officer didn't show up in court. So that particular part of the story is now over. And then the rest of it, again, the guys who were estimated that would not have practiced because of injuries are Teron Armstead with a knee. Still would expect him to be out there because he didn't practice either of the past 2 weeks and played against both the Raiders and the Patriots. And then the aforementioned Tyus Bowers has knee/calf. That could be slightly problematic. And we already can pretty much assume that Kendall Fuller with a concussion, Anthony Walker with a hamstring will not be playing. And then as far as the Packers, it's the same thing. They had 5 guys listed as estimated as DNP. They also did a walkthrough, including starting cornerback Jair Alexander, who's not playing. And then wide receiver Romeo Doubs.
Yep.
Dobbs, sorry. Why is it spelled Doubs then? Dobbs.
I know.
Who sustained a concussion in their victory against the San Francisco 49ers. So that's it for the injury report. Anything to add on any of that?
No, I'll keep an eye on Alec Ingold. That calf injury, those are, as I said, those are usually multi-week injuries. He missed 2 games. He played 9 snaps last week. He said he's going to have between 100 and 200 people at this game. You guys know Alec Ingold grew up in Green Bay. He went to University of Wisconsin. So he's going to have a huge crowd here. So we know that he'll play. It's just how effective will he be, and what is the link to Ingold's absence and limitation and the sub 100-yard rushing games for the team?
I think it has more to do with defenses wanting to take away the run than it does Ingold not being in the lineup, but it could be a combination of both. But you mentioned a very good point here. Let's talk about Isaiah Wynn, and we'll get back to the big picture conversation here. Isaiah Wynn was activated on Monday off the 53-man roster to the 53-man roster. I'll get it right. Yes. Activated off PUP to the 53-man roster. Man, it's really not that complicated. Come on, get it right. And Mike McDaniel was asked. I asked also offensive coordinator Frank Smith what the plan was for Isaiah Wynn. Is it a matter of letting him run into form before he's moved into the starting lineup? I was trying to see if I would get in some sort of admission that he eventually will, yes, he was destined to become the starter again. Did not get that. We did not get that from Mike McDaniel in the afternoon as well. It's basically, again, the old, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Rob Jones is doing overall a pretty good job. He's not Quentin Nelson or Zach Martin as a guard, but overall the offense has been playing very, very well. So why worry about it? And as McDaniel pointed out, Wynn hasn't practiced in more than a year. He's not Isaiah Wynn right now. So let him get back into shape, see what we got.
Correct. And the interesting thing, and if anybody cares, I did ask Isaiah Wynn. I said, we talked to him in the locker room today, and I said Mike McDaniel said that there was a complication associated with the quad, a knee ailment, and he said no, there was nothing. It's just the quad. I was like, oh, okay. So there's that. If that matters to anybody, there's that. He said it's always just been a quad.
And yet the injury report says quad/knee.
Correct. 100% correct.
Would we call that chicanery, tomfoolery?
Hijinks?
Hijinks, any of those?
Maybe all of them.
Okay, interesting. By the way, we should mention who the new snapper is, by the way, for those, since we like to be thorough here. Tucker Addington, by the way, big hearts here. Job well done. 3-0 Dolphins with Tucker Addington as a long snapper.
Yep.
See, and I've lost my. There we go. The heart showed up. The new snapper is Zach Triner.
Yes.
6-year NFL veteran, appeared in 61 NFL games. And I will plead guilty to never having heard of the gentleman before. But then again, he's a long snapper. And long snappers, if you know a long snapper, it's because you cover the team and he's been there for a while, or there were some errant snaps.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be known as far as that's concerned. Okay, so let's go back to the big picture, this idea of what the Dolphins can do in a spot where they have come up short. And I would say that I think I might have said this earlier in the previous episode. If the Dolphins can pull out the win at Green Bay, to me, it would be the most significant win of Mike McDaniel's tenure. And I can't think of anything else that actually even comes close. Because, I mean, to me, the two right now that stand out are week 2 at Baltimore in 2022, opener against the Chargers last year in 2023 because of the way the game was won and the shootout and all that, except it came the way the season played out as the Chargers were kind of sucked at that. Sorry. And then in Baltimore, it was great and all that. And Baltimore did go on to make the playoffs, but it was week 2. This is later in the season, in the cold at night against Green Bay, which is 8-3. To me, that would give me hope. And then the rest of the season after that, this is the toughest matchup left on the schedule.
On paper, yes, it is. And I agree with you on the significance of this. I would throw in the Buffalo game right after Baltimore, the 21-19 victory in Miami in 2022 because you beat Buffalo. I would also make note of the games that got them into the playoffs, 11-6 victory against the Jets, 2022, 22-20 against Dallas last year. Those are significant, but you are right. This would be the most significant because of what's at stake, because of where you've come from. Tua with the concussion, playing with this new offense, having a first-year defensive coordinator, going up to Lambeau, all of this stuff. This would be the most significant victory of and I call it the McDaniel-Tua era, which started in 2022. I know Tua was here before McDaniel, but I call it the McDaniel-Tua era. Yes, you're 100% correct. This would be the most significant victory.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, and this would, again, it's very well documented about Tua's stats against in cold weather and all that, and against and I am noted Tua hater, supposedly. The way he's playing right now, the way he's running this offense, I don't see any reason. Again, if there's massive wind, and I've seen a weather report where there could be gusts up to 22, 23 miles an hour, which isn't great. But if the wind does not become a major issue, I don't think it's 25-degree weather that's going to be a major problem. It's not. And I think when somebody asked Frank Smith about that today in the Zoom session, it's not about the cold. It's about the wind. It's about if there's precipitation, and more so rain than snow, because I think
Correct.
there's a chance of snow, but if it doesn't, the problem with precipitation is if it makes the ball wet, then it becomes harder to handle, and then the wind. But I have no problem, thinking that, again, the way Tua has been playing the last couple of weeks, that he can have some success against the Packers defense, which is solid, maybe not a great defense.
Yeah, he'll have to watch out for Xavier McKinney at safety, 7 interceptions, tied for the league lead. But you're right. And look, this is a no excuses game for Tua and Mike McDaniel, for the Dolphins, for all of them. I shouldn't just separate Tua and Mike McDaniel, but they're the face of the team. So, but this is a no excuses game. You've got to win this game. Now, the season is not over if you don't, but you built up so much to this game. It's like that Buffalo game, the second game of the season that, you dispatch Jacksonville, but Buffalo. And then you lose 31-10 and Tua gets concussed and the season goes downhill quickly. You cannot lose this game. I mean, you can. It's not the end of the world, but you know what I mean as far as what you've accomplished since Tua has been back, and what you've accomplished with changing the offense and staying in the fight and sticking together and not giving up and all of this stuff. If you want to keep going, the reason why Calais decided to stay. Like, all of this is what's at stake here in this game. And by the way, so I did a column today talking about I think that we make too much about this cold weather thing with the Dolphins and with Tua. And I looked in the McDaniel-Tua era, again, starting in 2022. There's only been 3 games where the temperature was 45 or below at kickoff. And that was at Buffalo, the 32-29 loss, at Buffalo, the 34-31 playoff loss, and then at Kansas City last year for the playoffs. Right. I should note that the Green Bay game here on Christmas Day was 46 at kickoff here in Miami, and the Dolphins lost that game. But I made it 45 degrees, and so quite honestly, the weather since Mike McDaniel has been here has been spectacular. All the road games, pretty much. In Philly, against Kansas City, in Germany, at Washington, at the New York Jets on Black Friday, like all these possibilities, it's been like in the 50s. So it's not like there's been a ton of these games. But look, you lost twice to Buffalo and once to Kansas City. Kansas City is 2-0 against the Mike McDaniel Dolphins. Buffalo is 6-1. So you'd have probably lost those games in any location, at any time of year, in any temperature. Like, it's not about the cold weather. It's about beating a quality opponent on the road late in the season. And those are the things that have given the Dolphins trouble, not the temperature at kickoff.
No, fair enough. And this is where I tell Dolphin fans, I got some Dolphin fans on social media are like, why do you believe it's going to be the same thing all over again? They're going to do the same thing that they always do. Is they've given us hope with this 3-game winning streak, and all of it now, and the Green Bay's going to spank him, and it's because it's the same old Dolphins. Well, where does it say it has to be the same old Dolphins?
Right.
I mean, is there a law that says that because they couldn't get over the hump last year or the year before that they can't get over the hump this year? It's not quite the same team. I don't know that they're quite as talented on defense.
No.
But are we so sure that they're not just as good?
Right.
And that's and again, and offensively, to me, they're better. They're this is weird. They're not as explosive,
right?
But they're better because they're a lot more varied. So again, they have a lot more different ways to beat teams. It's not just you take Tyreek Hill away and the offense has problems. So I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying this notion that they have no shot because they never beat good teams and they haven't in the past is kind of silly to me. And then one last thing I want to close with. Keep in mind, this is very important. If it comes down to the Dolphins and Denver for that final playoff spot, which it very well might, if it's a 2-team tiebreaker, the Dolphins, get this, already have clinched the tiebreaker.
I think I might have read this on SI.com, as this is the conference record thing, right? Yes, because Denver doesn't have enough time.
Because here's the thing is, and the way you do it is just do an interconference is Denver's killed it against the NFC. They're 4-1. They're done with the NFC. They're 4-1. The Dolphins already had 2 losses against the NFC, against Seattle and against Arizona, which means that if they wind up tied, they will have 1 fewer loss in the AFC, which means Dolphins automatically will have a better record, better conference record if they wind up tied with Denver and they don't play head-to-head, and that would be the first tiebreaker. So keep that in mind. If Dolphins and Denver finish tied for the last playoff spot, Dolphins are in. So how's that for a positive spin to end this episode?
Very nice. I like that. Hopefully the next time we talk, it's coming off of a 4-game winning streak. Ooh.
There you go. And we will talk. I don't know when we'll talk again. It'll be sometime after the game.
Yep.
Yeah, sometime after the game. You have a happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
You too.
He is Chris Perkins, South Florida Sun Sentinel. Catch his written content at sunsentinel.com. You're missing the little tag here that says Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk.
Oh.
So I'll say it for him. Everyone watching, thank you very much for doing so. Getting all choked up here. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We will be back Wednesday with Perk's Sun Sentinel colleague, Dave Hyde. Until then, have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.